Hello everyone, welcome to this very special program on the occasion of National Youth Day to celebrate the birthday of the great Swami Vivekananda, a true youth icon for not just young people in India, but in many parts of the world. His message was simple yet powerful. He conveyed his ideas directly to the people, especially to the youth. And his messages broke the shackles of caste, regions, and creed and spoke of a language of universal brotherhood. He personified the eternal energy of the youth. It is entirely fitting that on 12th of January, today, the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda is observed as National Youth Day in India. Not just his teachings, but his life in general serves as a great learning for all of us. And talking about these learnings, we are joined here by Dr. R Balasubramaniam, who we lovingly call and is known as Dr. Balu, who will shine a light on these learnings. He's a member of the Capacity Building Commission and founder of Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement program. He's also a member of UA's advisory board. I think it would be very appropriate to say that Dr. Balu's life purpose is greatly influenced by the teaching of Swami Vivekananda. And at the age of 19, he founded the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. He has spent more than 30 years of his life on the ground in the service of young people and of people who are marginalized. And he has authored books and also written extensively about Swami Vivekananda and on development issues in newspapers and on his own blog. He runs many leadership workshops as well, which are very popular. So we are very grateful, Dr. Balu, that you could take out time for us. And thank you so much for joining in. We're also joined by lovely young people, friends from Slam Out Loud, which is a transformative, which uses the transformative power of performance and visual arts to help build creative, confidence-inducing life skills, and a member of our Young People Action Team. In today's session, we will try to decode the wisdom of the youth icon Swami Vivekananda by hearing anecdotes from his life, and collectively then sharing reflections, especially relevant for young people in the 21st century. Over to you, Dr. Balu, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure for two things. One is to talk about Swami Vivekananda. You can keep talking about him, and there's so much that we can all understand and learn. He's like an onion. You peel one layer and you discover another layer. So that's the way. That's been my life's journey in trying to deconstruct him, and I don't think I have really deconstructed him. All I can claim is I'm still in the process of deconstructing him, and that's a life's journey. And the second reason I love being here is first, more importantly, it's part of Yuva and talking to young people. So the secret of this whole conversation is, one is talking about Vivekananda charges me up, and talking about and sharing his life story with all of you charges me up further. So the energy that one can get from young people is what keeps me young despite the gray hairs that you notice. So it's great being here, and we can all see Swami Vivekananda in different ways, like you explained in your introduction, Ria. He could be a monk, he could be a nationalist, he could be a humanist, he could be a person who lived universalism in its complete understanding, who loved the whole world as is, but he still loved India the most. It's a very strange way of understanding him. And I always used to ask myself, what is it that could have inspired Vivekananda himself? Apart from the momentous meeting with his guru, is there something that should have set him on this path much earlier? And then where did it all begin for him? It all begins for us at different points in our lives. Each of you are such inspiring characters. And I'm sure if you trace back your own lives, you'll have those milestones which sort of mark the change in your own self and the way you see society and life around you. And so to me, I just look back and whenever I read Swami Vivekananda and his life story, there are sort of pointers that I thought I should share with all of you today. And one such was when he was a kid in school. He was known to be a very mischievous child, and I'm sure all of you know that. In fact, he was so mischievous that his mother, in one place, even complains, the only way I could control him was whisper Shiva Shiva in his ear, and then he would become quiet and go into a meditative state. Now, beyond the storyline of this and beyond the understanding of this, let's look at a mischievous young boy, extremely intelligent, a kid in school, who believed, he had so much of confidence in himself, much like a lot of young people today, and goes to school and is sitting in a geography class. And this geography teacher, in all his wisdom, teaches something wrong and asks a question which Swami Vivekananda as Narendra at that time answers, and the answer is the right answer. But today, most of us, it was the same those days. I'm sure it's the same today also. Teachers always want to listen to the answer they think is right. Not as the correct answer, but the answer that they think is correct. And this teacher was no different. And so when he told Narendra that, no, this is not the right answer, you're wrong. And Narendra argued back and said, no, you're wrong. This is the right answer. And after a few minutes of this, remember a 7-8-year-old kid doing this. And after a few minutes of this, the teacher gets very angry with him, like any teacher would. We are all living in a space where today teaching it's becoming flatter and flatter, but those days it was very hierarchical. The teacher was God and Guru, and what he told was Veda Vakya. And so the teacher got so pissed off and he caned him. And but Naren refused to change his answer. He said, no, you can beat me to the cows come home, but this is the answer. This is the right answer. Now Naren comes back, and look, the story doesn't end here. The beauty of the story is our convictions, our values needs to be validated and reaffirmed by somebody whom we role model ourselves against. If it is negated, and that's what happens in today's world, a lot of young people ask you, why should I stay honest? Why should I stay in this world where integrity is never appreciated, and in this world where it seems to be only shortcuts are appreciated? But I think that is where we need to have role models who are equally appreciative of what we are. And Bhuvaneshwari Devi, Naren's mother, was a role model herself. As a mother, as a mentor, as everything for Vivekananda. And when Naren comes home crying, his eyes swollen, and he tells his mom what happened, and Bhuvaneshwari explains to him very proudly, she hugs him and tells him, and that's the reaffirmation that Naren wanted, right? It's not his teacher being wrong, but he getting worried whether he was wrong in protesting that his teacher was wrong. And then when his mother says, this is exactly how you should be, and you should never compromise with the truth. And the truth is what you believe is the truth, right? And it's very difficult to say what is truth nowadays. In an absolute sense, it's such a lot of gray areas in today's world. But if you believe this is the truth and your convictions are straight, and like I'm sure many of the young people at Yuva that I have met are so clear about their life's objectives, and they know that this is the way forward for the country, this is the way forward for themselves, for society, and it's such strong beliefs. And when Vivekananda explains this to Bhuvaneshwari, he says, live by that conviction. And that is such a strong, powerful message. And it looks, in one side, it looks very simple, like Mahatma Gandhi had a similar experience. Each of us must have had similar experiences, but the life-changing turn of event is when his mother reaffirms that you got to speak truth to power. It doesn't matter. And for a child at class 3 or class 4, the teacher is a person in power. Today, a lot of us have to learn how to speak truth to power. But this, in the same school that Vivekananda went, later on another incident, which again touched me a lot, was in class. He was a very mischievous kid. He was also the most intelligent in his class. And the teacher just took a few minutes to come to the classroom. And all of us in school, that break between two classes when the teacher is late, we have fun. We pull each other's leg, we gossip, we make noise, and then the teacher comes in, hush, silence again, right? All of us have gone through this. And that particular day, Vivekananda was joking, playing, impishly, cracking jokes on his friends, pulling their legs, and everybody was laughing and joking that they forgot to notice the teacher coming in. And they continued to laugh and share their joy, but the teacher was in the classroom. He got very wild, but he knew that Naren was the best student in class. So every kid was screaming and shouting and laughing with the joy and the joke that Vivekananda cracked. Were all punished by the teacher, and so all of you stand on the bench, and those who are standing on the bench was a real punishment for them. And the teacher just was writing something on the board. He turned around and saw all the kids standing on the table. He saw Naren also standing on the chair, on the bench, sorry. And then he looked at Naren and says, Naren, you're the best kid in class. You don't have to stand on the bench. You are a very good child. You wouldn't have made a mess of all this. You wouldn't have got into all this mischief. So sit down. And Naren refused to sit, and he tells his teacher, no, you're wrong. I was the cause of all this. I am the root cause of the entire mischief, and so I should be the only one standing, not the others. Now, you must again look at the important lesson that I would like all of you to watch for, right? It's not the conviction of staying honest and despite the consequences. All is life. Today, we are all conveniently honest. For 5 years, I was the vigilance director in the Karnataka Lokayukta looking at corruption. And I realized most of us in life, we all talk of honesty, but we are all not driven by conviction to be honest. We're all driven by convenience. You're driving a two-wheeler and you go to a crossroad, a signal light. There's no traffic on the road. It's 10 o'clock in the night, nothing opposite direction coming. It's a red light. And you look around and say, you know what? Why do you waste time? Just cross over, right? That is not honest. That is not honesty with conviction. That is honesty driven by convenience. It's not inconvenient to break a law, so you break it. You don't die, there are no consequences. But that real conviction that drives you to stay honest is what the lesson I would learn from this. And to me, the power of the message that Vivekananda brings in, the way he interprets integrity and honesty in all his life, he talks about it. And the way he lived it is a lesson for all of us. So I'm going to pause here and let you guys reflect a bit on these stories, and you might possibly see a lot more messages in this.
Thank you. And I love that we have started with something where Swami Vivekananda is young and still Narendra, because then it demystifies and decodes this great person, right? This is something we've all gone through. We've gone to schools and, had that fun. And then sometimes we have had friends who stick with us and sometimes we don't. But we remembered and we've learned how to sort of stay true to our values, even when the times get bad, or even when it's not convenient for us. Even then, sticking to our values is what's important, I think. That is something I took away from this. Who wants to unmute themselves and share? Sanket, maybe you?
Yeah, so I was really inspired, really connect to the story actually, because I was good with my teacher, but there used to be some tussles here and there at times where you really need to stand out for what you think, what you are. So there was an incident where it wasn't a mistake of my friend. He was just helping me out, but the teacher thought that he's not paying attention and shouted him a standard for him that he's just helping me out. So I just feel that Swami Vivekananda always, from childhood itself, he stood up for his values and what he believed, and which I feel is like going ahead in your life. When you meet, when you say you meet the larger world, maybe in your college, or when you start socializing even with a larger audience, it becomes a lot more important to keep your values in your mind and stand with it, be honest with it. Because otherwise I feel that people might manipulate you, or people might make you do things that they want, or they might get a benefit out of you in a very easier way. But if you're standing on your values and what you think is right, that might not be possible.
Yeah. You all can also unmute and share.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the story was actually very inspiring for me because I could really connect with it, because being a person who have always been a good image in front of teachers, maybe you many times get out of the trouble you would have been because of that image, and somehow that impact others in a negative way. And I feel at that moments many times you might feel that that's good, but actually now I somehow realize that it's actually about your own decency and how you respect your own values by yourself. And if I look at from a social perspective, which I actually could think of right now, that if we look at the basic root causes of any sort of social problem we have all around the world right now, if I take a particular problem maybe of environment, then we might always give a lot of speeches and do a lot of things, but what we actually lose on ourselves is making the actions on our own. And even if we know that a particular thing is right or wrong, we somehow within our convenience tend to do it without realization. And I feel that's the where we actually lag in. And if today's people and if today's generation would be able to understand that how important it is to stay upon your own beliefs and stay upon your own directions you made for others and yourself, it can be a huge place to start a base upon to work about other problems.
Can I share?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Oh, Okay, so the line, honesty, हम अपने convenience के हिसाब से बोलते हैं, oh my gosh. I think this is the perfect line to describe our youth because हम normally यही करते हैं. हम किसी के साथ जाते हैं तो हम यही कहते हैं, हाँ भाई रेड लाइट हो रही है, कोई देख नहीं रहा है, आसपास कर लेते हैं क्रॉस. तो ये चीज ऐसी थी जो लिटरली हमें कनेक्ट कर रही थी कि यस. और हम अक्सर ये बोलते हैं कि रोल मॉडल पे हमारा बनना रोल मॉडल की तरह इट्स क्वाइट हार्ड, पर एक्चुअली वो नहीं है हार्ड. अगर हम किसी चीज को सोच ले कि अगर हमें वो करना है तो एक्चुअली वी कैन डू इट. एंड रोल मॉडल, मैंने जो सर की स्टोरी से जाना कि रोल मॉडल इज नॉट अ सिंगल पर्सन जिसने बहुत ही कुछ बड़ा करा हो, पर रोल मॉडल वो भी हो सकता है जो आपको बताए कि यस दिस इज अ पाथ वेयर यू शुड गो. And the role of his mom, oh my god, that just hit me very politely. I just love that.
So apart from what all of you said, one thing that stands out to me is like the relationship that he had with his mother. Because when we are young, of course, Swami Vivekananda had, and not everybody is as powerful or as intelligent as he was. And sometimes as children, we don't understand the difference between right and wrong. So it's our parents and our mothers, especially, and fathers who guide us. So it's at least what we should do is get inspired from them and listen to them when they're telling us that this is the right thing to do and this is not. So that is what I took away from the story.
Can I add something? I also got a feeling like Swami Vivekananda was a person who used to enjoy what he was doing. So like the incidents where he was enjoying with his friends, and then if their friends got the punishment, he and teacher didn't give him the punishment, they still took it. And I see that there's a strong bonding that he has with the person he's with around, and like he has a good sense of the bonding, and he enjoys everything that he does. And I always feel that the people who enjoy doing things, the people who like do musty, or like as you did, like people always say that like backbenchers cannot be successful, but we never understand the way they think, the way they do things. And I feel that they are the most successful people that come out at times, because they might have a number of ideas. It's just all about how you are able to bring out those ideas. So I just got all those things in my mind.
They're wonderful. So many such great reflections. You know, I was listening to all of you. There's so many different ways we can all see Vivekananda. I could see him in particular ways, but each of you saw him in so many different ways. And that's a beauty of getting young people to think about all this. And as you were talking, I was thinking something, Sanket, you know, that the joy that he had. I remember once when he was he was a very humorous personality, and he would crack lovely jokes and make everybody around him laugh. He's a great musician, he's a great singer. Otherwise, we all have the stereotype of a monk and this extraordinary character, the stern nationalist and all that. But Vivekananda was a different kind of he was sort of a person all of us want to be or aspire to be in our own ways. He was cracking this joke, and somebody came to him and said, "But you're a sannyasi, you can't laugh so loud." And then he said, "What do you mean?" Because Vivekananda used to cry when something went wrong as much as he would have a hearty laugh. So it's not as though he said, what sannyasi cannot be dry. Sannyasi is the one who feels for the people. And in those feelings, you express your emotions. And whether it is laughter, whether it is sadness, they're all integral to human existence. So he was the one who decodified what is it to be a monk. It's not the dry monastic, like we all have this image of Buddha where everything is withdrawn. No, but Vivekananda was fun-loving. And I loved what Aditi also said about the special relationship with his mother. In fact, his mother outlived Vivekananda. Many of you may not know that. And when they went through utter poverty after his father died. And Vivekananda is a young graduate. has to earn a living because his family was in dire straits. His father just gave away all the wealth. Vivekananda even says, I got my philanthropic attitude from my father. He would just give away everything. His father would just gift away very generously things. And he had to find a job, and Swami Vivekananda would leave home every morning looking for a job and not get it. And Narendra comes back home very tired, not even having had water during the day, fully knowing, look at the special relationship he had with his mother. His mother would cook food with very little she had, and all the other children would be fed. Vivekananda would come back very late in the night, deliberately very late. He would sleep in some park or somewhere outside, come back very late in the night. And his mother would not have eaten. She should have kept the food for Vivekananda. And you should ask Naren, come and have dinner. He said, no, I had dinner already. And he would say that, he would actually say, I felt embarrassed lying to my mother. But he would say, oh, I went to this friend's house looking for a job and he offered me dinner. I had dinner with him and I've come back. And Naren would do that because he knew that if he ate the dinner, there's been nothing left for his mother to eat. And his mother wouldn't have had a dinner waiting for Naren to come back and eat. And if he said he has eaten, his mother would believe him. That's the kind of conviction she had in Naren's integrity. And she said he would believe him. And so just to get my mother to eat the food, and he knew that his mother would never have eaten through the day. That one little meal that night, just to make her eat that meal, I had to go through this drama, and I did this several days. And at least I saw my mother having her dinner. Now, that's a very special bond. But I would like to actually, I just thought of sharing this as you people pointed out something wonderful. And then I want to go through another important thing. You know, all of us go through a lot. And I was very troubled in the last 2 years interacting with young people. You know, around the world, I love being with young people because it reduces my age dramatically. And at least 100,000 people I meet, talk, engage with, I mentor several tens of them. And I have a strange worry that sometimes there's such enormous inner potential inside each one of you, such powerful dynamos that are operating inside you, but you don't know that, you don't even know that dynamo exists, leave alone switching it on. And Vivekananda was no different. And as a monk, as an young monk, maybe in his early 20s, he was walking around the country, and he was for a long time known not as Vivekananda. Many of you may not know this. He was known as Vividishananda. And Vivekananda was a name later on that was given to him. He just walked around, and he goes to Varanasi, the holy place of our country, and they're walking along going toward the temple. Large, very big monkeys started attacking him, chasing him. And Vivekananda started running. This is a very often repeated story, and I keep telling myself this every day because life is like these monkeys. You know, hundreds of problems chases us, and young people, especially today, we are caught in such tremendous conflict. Brick and mortar education seems to be getting farther and farther away. Social life seems to collapse. You can't even have a coffee with your friends, and your parents will say, wear a mask, do this, do that. There's such a lot of big list that me as a physician would give you. The moment you say you want to go out, I'll give you a big list, right? How can you not sit beside each other? I don't think young people ever know a life where you don't sit beside each other, bang each other up, bash each other up, pat each other up. You know, that's fun. That's the way we all grown up, right? At least I have grown up that way. And we suddenly tell you young kids, no, sit 6 feet away, don't cough, wear a mask. You can't even hear each other. What nonsense. But that produces such mental stress. Mental health challenges are the largest challenges COVID has left behind for our young people. The insecurities of education being incomplete, the insecurities of whether it lead to proper employment. These are the demons attacking us, chasing after us. And Vivekananda's life, I think here, this example that I would like to share with you is a powerful reminder. How do we face this? He starts running and the monkeys chase after him, and more monkeys join the monkey gang chasing him. And as he's running by, there's an old monk sitting on the side of a courtyard of one of the smaller temples. He looks at Vivekananda and says, why are you running? He says, listen, they're chasing me. And then he says, that's stupid. Turn around and face the brutes, he says. And Vivekananda turns around and then faces the brutes, and the monkeys run away now. But I think the demons chasing us in our lives are like these brutes, these monkeys. I'm sure all of you have these challenges, right? As young people, all kinds of distractions, all kinds of attractions, all kinds of pressures, health issues, emotional issues, boyfriend issues, girlfriend issues, all kinds of issues, education issues. I know how much of challenges each young person feels today. And these are the monkeys behind you. And you run faster, the monkeys chase you faster. I think getting up and facing them and saying, hey, you brutes, you can't get at me. And then you solve the world's, it's not only your problems, but I think you'll solve the world's problems for us. And that is a power and potential embedded in each of you. And that is what you need to unleash. That conviction, that courage, that confidence, saying that I will face the brutes of this whole society, of the world around us. And they are brutes. You can, the good ones you like, I know, but the brutes is what you have to face. And especially young women, I think you have a lot more to catch up and a lot more brutes to face. And that's how society is shaping today. And we need to tell the world that we will favor, that the brute of really brutal way religion gets expressed, or polarization happens, or the political narratives that we're hearing, or your jobs, or your future, or your education, or the opportunities to go abroad, stay in India, do this, do that, or sort of jump into an enterprise that you want to create, or the conviction that you have, and not take the tested path that your parents want you to take, disagreeing with your family. There's so many challenges you'll face. But once you decide to face those brutes, I think you'll be an asset to the country, to society, to yourself. So
I think as Dr. Balu was talking about these brutes, I could imagine all of the problems in my life and all the brutes in my life just actually, as those monkeys, very visual in that sense. Yeah, that is my, quick takeaway. Do you want to start, Aditi?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I agree with whatever Sir said, and it's really, really important to face your issues, because solving them is the only solution to whatever problems we are facing, and not running away from them, of course. And at the same time, from the first story, caring about the people you are with, your family, your friends, your neighbors, is really very, very important, because their happiness is and like we live in a society, so our happiness and sadness are connected to each other, which is why taking care of yourself is important, and taking care of others is also equally important. I think that is what I learned.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the two things which I earned from this beautiful story. First thing is, don't limit yourself. हम हमेशा यही सोचते हैं कि हम एक ही चीज के अंदर अच्छे हो सकते हैं और चीजों में नहीं हो सकते. But there are so many things I have learned from Vivekanand just now, because मुझे भी इतना नहीं पता था. From sir I got to know a lot of things. And the second thing is, मैंने कहीं सुना था ये कि बुरे वक्त में अगर आप हंस दो तो बुरा वक्त बुरा मान जाता है. That's what Vivekanand sir did. तो जैसे ही बंदर उनके पीछे भाग रहे थे, and he was like, ठीक है, अब आ जा. So this was like कि हाँ, आपके लाइफ में रोल मॉडल्स बहुत आएंगे, आपको सिखाएंगे, but implementing those things, it's quite hard and it's very normal. लाइफ में अगर विवेकानंद सर की लाइफ के अंदर भी इतनी सारी सिचुएशंस आई थी, तो हम तो अभी बच्चे ही हैं, तो आई थिंक हमारे अंदर भी करेज होना चाहिए, we can stand, and that's really beautiful.
Truly, I think change making in general for society, but also facing our own fears, both of those go hand in hand. Once we start facing our own fears, change making then becomes easier for us. Yeah, Tanvi, would you like to share?
Yeah, so two main takeaways from the whole story for me was that being empathetic in today's world is really, really important. Like, you only think about yourself. It's important, of course, to think about yourself, but you actually need to admire the people around you who actually love you, who have maybe just put their whole life in front of you to make something out of you, as he did. Like, and another thing was that it's okay if you lie for something, if it's impacting the person in the front in a positive way. As sir said that in Vivekanand actually did that. He knew that if he will eat that food, then his mother might starve, and that's like, which is a really, really motivating thing, that you are keeping someone in front of you, and you're always not thinking about your values. You have to be in your values, but somehow to make some good impact, to make someone else, so the person in the front, better, to for them to live for their own life necessity. You are doing something even from a wrong way, it's somehow right.
For me, like there are 2-3 things that come up. First one was that the bond Swami Vivekananda shared with the mother. Even if he used to lie her that he has eaten the food, I somewhere started wondering that even if his mother used to eat the food, I feel that somewhere her mother knew that her son has not eaten the food, because I've seen this, like if I'm not well or if something is bothering me, my mother will always know that something's wrong. She'll figure it out somehow. And it's not only with me, even my nanny will figure it out if something is wrong with my mother. So somewhere there is always this bond between um, a child and their mother, or I would say the parents. So somewhere I just feel the first thing when I heard that story was that I also want to hear the perspective of the mother, as did she ever feel that thing. The second thing was that I know that Vivekananda was like sort of fighter, used to face his problems, and with this story that uh, that came up, like there were monkeys running behind him, and he faced them. Uh, I just like, whenever there's this sort of story told to me where you have to talk about your problems or something. There's this one amazing line in one of the movies called as Avengers Age of Ultron at the end of the movie. I don't know, Bhalisa, if you have seen that movie, but Nick Fury says that problems are, the line or something like, problems are something that would always be permanent. So I always get that line, and the way whole Avengers and Marvel series goes, I feel that there are so many people, and that whole series teaches us how to face the problem, and running from that problem is not a solution. That was the second thing, and the third thing was, of course, the whole COVID thing, and like coming from a mental health background, studying psychology. It also tells us how self-care is so important for us, and how we can find that self-care in various ways. Like maybe for Swami Vivekananda, not eating food itself was a self-care, as he could take care of his mother, and struggling through all those was also his sort of a self-care that he used to do for them.
So much to learn from all of you. What I really caught from all of you is many of you focus on the lie, and it's not about lying for something good. So don't get me wrong. I think it may be an innocuous statement that Vivekananda might have made for his mother, but he was actually known for his integrity and his convictions of truth. Something else which I admired Vivekananda for, and more than anything else, was the love and compassion he had, the conviction he had that this nation is something which you have to care about. And the call he gave for young people like us, the call that he gave about saying that, look at the power. A religious man, a monk, saying this. He said, I do not believe in a God or religion which cannot wipe away the widow's tears. And remember, he spoke more than 100 years ago in the context in which widows were treated very differently in our country. So you must see that in that context. I do not believe in a God or religion which cannot wipe away the widow's tears or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth. For a person like me, when I was 15, 16, that inspired me. I said, this is the God I want to know. This is the religion I want to embrace. And all of us are at our age, at that age, we're all socialists. We all want to make the world, equal for everybody, right? We are all driven by that energy. And when I read these lines, and lines like, for young people, when he says, if you do not work for this country, as long as, we are all not going to give ourselves to the welfare of this country, we're all traitors, right? He called upon young educated people who do not care for their nation are as good as traitors. And with that kind of power, when I was looking at his life and saying, what drove Swamiji to believe this? He's sleeping in a bed in America, and he suddenly, and all of us, it's very easy to be great when somebody notices us. When you are in the limelight, we all want to pretend to be wonderful people. Swami Vivekananda himself used to say, real character is when you're alone in a dark room and the thoughts that run through your mind, that is what shapes your character, he said. So it's when 1,000 people are watching us, we can all be great. When we're all on television, when we're on a speech and all that, we can all say we're all wonderful people. But when we're alone, sitting with ourselves, and when Swamiji was alone in a room, he just couldn't sleep in that bed in USA, in that one of his devotees' homes. And he lay down on the floor. And next morning, the hostess comes to the room of Swamiji and she finds him crumpled in a corner of the bed, unslept. And then she looks at Vivekananda, and Vivekananda's eyes are red and swollen. And she asks him, why, what went wrong? Are you not happy in my house? And he says, no, I could not sleep on that lovely mattress thinking about the thousands and thousands of people lying on the floor in my country. That connect he had for the poor. He says, our job is ameliorating the misery of the marginalized. He says, feel, my children, feel for the poor, the marginalized, the downtrodden. Feel till your heart stops and your mind reels and you fall down dead. That's the kind of emotion he wants us to generate for this country. And the same Swamiji, after he became famous, he's going around, and in one place where he stops, there's a big crowd to welcome him, and a lot of people thronging the platform and trying to rush at him and coming to meet him in the railway station. And then he sees in a corner one man standing there with tears in his eyes looking at Swamiji. And Vivekananda bursts out loud saying, Ram Snehi, here I am. And the crowd suddenly looks at Ram Snehi. And in what is traditionally in our country called untouchables and all that nonsense that existed in those days where people were segregated and marginalized, that man comes, everybody gives way for him and he comes rushing. And this is a man who, when Swamiji was, nobody was walking to he walked through the country, right? He walked on the foot and he comes to this same place on foot, unknown, unspoken for person. And Ram Snehi prepares thick chapati for him and gives it to him. And Vivekananda eats it. He remembers. So look at the humility, the compassion, the message he's sending to us. Everybody is worthy of recognition. Everybody's goodness has to be celebrated. It is not something extraordinary standing on a pedestal and talking about it. That's why he writes. It's not about being on a pedestal and saying, here, my poor man, take my 5 cents. And it doesn't stop there. In Alwar, in Rajasthan, when Swamiji was there, king welcomes him and he's in a palace and all that. And then suddenly he says, no, I want to meet this lady. And they search out for that lady and she comes and it looks at that mother. It's a mother. You remember you gave me that little roti long ago. It was so beautifully made. Can you put the same kind of love and give me that roti again? And that's what he eats. He doesn't eat the dinner in the palace. He eats that roti that lady gives. He sends out several messages. He sends us message of equity here. He sends us message of equal. The king is as equal as the praja. And he says, you can never treat people differently. He sends out message of inclusion. He sends out message to me, people like me, of that compassion, that love, that inclusivity, that universal thinking that he had of embracing everybody. And that is something so powerful. It's all rolled into one and it brings out his leadership in such powerful ways. And today's leaders have a lot to learn from that. We are here to serve. We are here to recognize the people who served us also in some ways in the past. And there's nobody who's unimportant. Everybody is important. Everybody has got a contribution to make. Everybody can give something for society. And these are powerful messages that I keep telling myself every day as the guiding light for the way I should live. And I'm sure each of you will have different messages, and I'm looking forward to listening and learning from what you learned from this experience of Swami Vivekananda.
I think your passionate storytelling is also what makes us, decode him truly. We're not seeing him as we used to. We're seeing him as a new person. And sometimes I think inclusion can become a buzzword in today's time. Politicians want to use it. influencers want to use it, people on the internet want to use it, but Swami Vivekananda really championed it years and years ago.
He lived
And
it.
what a truly, and what a simple man, but still very passionate and courageous. Sangeet, do you want to go with what you thought?
It's like as we are told, like the word inclusion, like today people use it in number of times in n number of ways, and like in the community of person with disabilities, we call it as ableism, where they say that like we are doing this for you, that for you, we are providing these facilities, but actually they are running away from their duties. They are running away from what they should actually do. So, for example, having a slope everywhere should be actual inclusion, because that won't only help a person with disability, but even a person who might have a temporary disability, it might help them as well. If someone has a plaster, has to rush through somewhere, if someone is injured, has to rush through wheelchair. Now, taking them upstairs would be very dangerous. An injured person, again, you're taking them to stairs, very dangerous. So I just felt that he understood what inclusion is at a very at a stage where no one would have ever talked about it, where people were still thinking about getting freedom, and then figuring out other things like caste, or like should women be given equal rights or not. And inclusion was something which is nowhere in place. So I feel that that's a very good message, and I also feel that inclusion somewhere is a step to bringing I won't say equality, because I do feel that no person in this world is equal. Each one of them do have their own pros and cons. So I'd say it's a step forward to bring an equity. At least like everyone has some sort of equal status or equal opportunities. So I feel that he understood that thing. And like you go to a king's palace, and most of us would be like, no, we want to have food there. But remembering the person whom you had food earlier, who is not like, who is considered to be from lower caste, and asking the king to bring that person and having food at their place also requires a lot of courage as well, because we would think that if we are going to some big person's house or somewhere, we would think that we respect them, we like we should respect them, or we should respect what they want. And asking something like this at that point of time was very courageous, is what I feel.
True. I feel the same way. Jiva?
Can I share?
Yeah, Jiva.
Okay. Oh, so मैं एक चीज इसमें बहुत अच्छे से सीखी, that is the simplicity, the सादगी of विवेकानंद जी. अक्सर हम अपनी लाइफ में सुनते हैं, और सच बताऊं हमारे क्लासेस में भी होता है. if I took a very simple example, if we are in a classroom and I'll become a monitor of my class, and I feel be like very superior. So there is something like कि हमारे एज ग्रुप में ऐसा होता है कि अगर हम कोई छोटी भी चीज पा लेते हैं ना, तो हमारे दोस्त हमें कहते हैं, ओ अब तो तेरे पास ये आ गया है, नाउ यू फील बी लाइक वेरी सुपीरियर, अब तो चेंज बदल जाएगा. बट विवेकानंद जी थोड़े अलग थे. आई थिंक ये बहुत ही हार्ड हो चुका है हमारे लिए, क्योंकि अब हमारे पास कुछ भी चीज आती है ना, तो हम लोगों के थैंकफुल नहीं होते. हम तो जनरली अपने पेरेंट्स को भी थैंकफुल नहीं होते, उनको भी थैंक यू नहीं बोलते, वो भी हमारे लिए इतना कुछ करते हैं. बट द सिंप्लिसिटी ही हैड कि इतना सब कुछ होने के बाद, इतने बड़े मुकाम पे आने के बावजूद भी उनको सबका याद था कि बोलते हैं ना कर्मा, तो उनको सबको पता था कि इन्होंने मेरे साथ ऐसा करा, और जिन्होंने गलत भी करा होगा तो आई एम श्योर उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ नहीं करा। ही नो वेरी वेल कि हर किसी इंसान ने मुझे कुछ ना कुछ दिया ही है, और किसी ने अगर मेरे साथ बुरा करा होगा तो आई थिंक दैट पर्सन इज आल्सो वन ऑफ द रीजन दैट व्हाई आई एम हियर। तो दैट इज जस्ट माइंड ब्लोइंग।
So, for me, the first thing that I learned was gratitude, being thankful to each and every person around us, irrespective of whatever, how small or big they've given to us. And the second was realizing the purpose that you need to fulfill as an individual living in the society, and trying to give back as much as possible to everything around you. Because just after we are born to the till the date we die, there are a lot of things that we receive from the society, from nature, our parents, and realizing that whatever we receive and being thankful for all of these things and returning them in one way or another is what we should work for.
Can I go next?
Mhm.
Yeah. So firstly, I would like to say that I actually never have realized that what sort of huge personality was Swami Vivekananda. So I am like really thankful to you for opening a whole new face in front of me, which he was. He was such an ideal. I never knew that. And I feel that I would like to explore more about Vivekananda even after this session. That urge has been like somehow generated in myself. And one of the key takeaways from the story you just told was what is the true self, like about the dark room thingy. Because right now these days also, like one of the times when I think the most is the time when I lie down on my bed and I am just trying to sleep. That's the time when I will be struck by thousands of thoughts, and all these thoughts are like whatever I did in the day, why I did, and those will be like the most reflective part of the days. And it's like really insightful to just think about for what purpose you actually started your day, and with what purpose did you really ended it, and being thankful to whatever you had. Like that whole thing was really inspiring for me, and I feel like I would like to exercise that in my daily life too. Another thing which actually touched me a lot was the roti thingy, that he never thought that even if he's at a very huge place, even if he have achieved a lot, people think that he have got a lot of good standards. He never stopped being down to earth. He always tried to be thankful to the people who somehow made me who he was that day. And the form of equity he actually showed in front of people, and he actually lived that equity in himself. Because to be honest, these days we see a lot of people using that word as Sanket said, that we all might have lost the actual meaning of that word. But what at the end he did was like a real insightful example you are setting in front of people, and making others learn from your experience, so that you actually are trying to not just throw the words, but you are becoming the person who have followed it, and it is really possible to be in that space. It's not just a utopia.
Great.
I just want to add something. Can I?
Please.
Okay. So the dark room wala jo bhi scene tha, that hit me and start realizing me the dark reality of social media. अक्सर हम यही होता है हमारे साथ, सोशल मीडिया पे हम जो भी करते हैं, आई थिंक अब वो चीज एक चीज शो ऑफ के लिए हो गई है। हम एज अ इंडिविजुअल और सिटीजन के रूप में हम कुछ कर ही नहीं पा रहे हैं, टू बी ऑनेस्ट। इनफैक्ट मैं भी कुछ नहीं करती हूँ, मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है एज अ सिटीजन जो मेरी ड्यूटी बनती है। आई नो कि यस देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स, अगर सड़कों पे इतने सारे लोग हैं जिनको खाने के लिए नहीं है, बट empathetic होना is quite difficult for us, और इनफैक्ट इन दिस जनरेशन इट्स वेरी हार्ड। हम जो भी चीज करते हैं ना, एक्चुअली हम एक सोशल मीडिया के जाल में फंसते जा रहे हैं, जहाँ पे हम हर चीज कैमरे के लिए करते हैं, टू बी ऑनेस्ट, और बहुत ही रेयर लोग हैं। तो आई थिंक ऐसे सेशंस होने चाहिए, और ताकि लोगों को विवेकानंद जी से बहुत ज़्यादा ही इंस्पिरेशन मिले, क्योंकि मुझे भी नहीं पता था, एज तन्वी सेड, कि हमें बिल्कुल भी नहीं पता था, कुछ आइडिया भी नहीं था कि ऐसा कुछ है. सो it's a very hidden personality that should be, come out. So yeah.
To add some last thing, I also feel that Swami Vivekananda was he used to not only speak, but he used to only do. He used to also do. So like something like practicing inclusion. You have to like in today's time, people would just speak about it. Half of them don't even practice things. They don't know the ground reality. They'll just post a story or two on their social media handles, talk to a few people in their DMs, and comment 2-3 things in the comment box, and they're done. They might not even bother to go and work somewhere. But I feel that Swami Vivekananda was somewhere. Before speaking anything, he himself did those things. Like he he called a person who is so-called in the lower caste. He met with them. He went and had food with them, and he did feel that like everyone is equal, or like there's no caste, like there should not be any system which discriminates between people. So his words are also seen as in actions.
In fact, I know we run out of time, but I just would like to leave behind a message, a final message for all of you. And he says it so beautifully. He says anybody in the space of social change making, he only says in his own language, he says 3H and 3Ps. And that's the pinnacle of his message for young people. The 3Ps, he says, are purity, patience, and perseverance. Purity in thought, word, and deed. Patience. We need a lot of patience to change this world, beginning with ourselves. And perseverance. Never give up. Whatever the world thinks of you, just go after it. 3H, he says, are the heart to feel. Feel for the poor, the marginalized, everybody. The head to think. Just feeling is not enough. All of you are extraordinarily talented. Strategize what to do, how to solve the problems. And the hands to work. You got to use your hands to work. And in conclusion, he says, only 3 things are needed to make a nation great, an individual great, an organization great. The first, he says, is absence of jealousy and suspicion. When all of you work together, what comes in the way are our egos. Why should JR do it? Why should Aditi do it? Why not Riya do it? Oh no, you are doing it and getting the credit, but I'm not even being seen. All these petty things come up. You got to go beyond it. Absence of jealousy and suspicion. Second, he says, conviction in the power of goodness. Today, the world needs positivity that Vivekananda spoke about, the positive thinking he wanted to have, all of us to have. And the power of goodness, good will prevail, have faith. So he says conviction and the power of goodness. And the third message is so simple. He says, doing good and helping everybody who does good. Instead of questioning, are you my caste, are you my religion, are you my country? Don't care. You're doing good, I'll support you. Just do good. And every single member of Yuva should just leave that as a mantra. And just keep one thing he said. He said, be and make. All of you should be this, be the role model India needs, and make 1 million more role models for this country. And I'm sure the purpose of Yuva will be fulfilled. It was great being with all of you, and I enjoyed the last 1 hour I spent with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The be and make is a really great motto. We should write that down at Yuva, actually. Thank you for this really insightful discussion and your passionate storytelling. I'm sure that learnings from this session will not just be with us for a very long time, but we will incorporate it into our daily conduct. The skills that Swami Vivekananda displayed continue to be relevant even today in the 21st century, and it can help us to be future ready. If you want to imbibe some of these skills like problem solving, communication, stress management at the convenience of your mobile phone, head over to WhatsApp and type YWNXT and send it to 9650414. 141. This is the Young Warrior NXT program, which is you can learn skills on your phone, and that is why we call it Phone Se Baniye Future Ready. In case you would like to join our friends at Slam Out Loud to do a deep dive session on these skills, sign up using the link in the description box. And finally, do check out the amazing work done by Dr. Balu and by the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. All of those information will also be in the description box. Thank you, dear friends, and thank you, Dr. Balu, for this discussion to decode the wisdom of the youth icon, Swami Vivekananda. I think we really did decode, because a lot of people here said that they are going to, know more about him and learn more about him and sort of demystify the image that he has. Join you on our social media channels to stay up to date with us for more exciting stuff that is yet to come. And again, a very, very happy National Youth Day to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.